The haunted crosswalk kicks things off in at number 10. Somewhere in South America on Google Maps, there is a crossroad, but there are some things you should know before you decide to cross the street at this busy intersection. Aside from looking both ways, before you cross, you might want to take extra precautions because you might stumble across a dark figure. According to the local legends, if you enter the middle, you will see everything go dark, and then you'll be met face to face with a shadowy figure known as the Crossroad Reaper. Well, here's a picture of the Reaper caught on Google Maps camera. Don't believe he's real? Well, why don't you try crossing the intersection yourself? And then you try to tell me you never saw him.
Number 9. The Gulf of Mexico shipwreck. I wouldn't want to be the captain of a boat. You have so much responsibility with all the people on board, and you don't even get to do the best things on a boat, which is take it easy and lay around the whole time. I especially wouldn't want to be the captain of a boat going through the Gulf of Mexico. There's over 2,000 shipwrecks in this area. Sailing through here is like your buddy dating someone crazy, even though you told them not to do it, and then big surprise, they burn down their house. Well, there's one shipwreck in particular that has everyone interested. It was discovered when Exxon was laying some pipe down in the Gulf. It's a ship that's estimated to be over 200 years old. The mystery about this old boat is that all attempts to do extensive research on the vessel have failed. Computers break down, robots stop working, people have begun to speculate that the boat is cursed and whatever is inside it needs to remain a secret. Ooh. Number 8. FAUNUS ERAKLYON. This city was once one of the most important ports in the Mediterranean. There must have been an insane amount of spice rolling through this area. I bet the whole city smelled like the candle section in Bed Bath & Beyond. It's unknown why this amazing port got sucked into the ocean, probably another earthquake, or maybe it was Godzilla climbing out of the sea and smashing it into the ocean. Either or is really possible. Over the years, a ton of deep sea excavations have happened in the area, and so much has been dug up. Giant statues, gold coins, lost hieroglyphs, they can all be found in this area. It seems that the city was a major hub for several different cultures to come through and make trade. It's a huge bummer to think about all the knowledge that was lost in the sinking of this city, and all the spices, man. Number 7. The Aegean Sea ruins. The Greeks have a crazy long history. It's full of war, politics, coups, betrayals, some magic dudes lying in the clouds somewhere. I think one of the craziest parts about Greek history is that everyone only wore sandals. I mean, in every movie about ancient Greece, every person is in sandals the whole movie. Alexander the Great is like, I'm taking over your country, and all the people are like, your toes are out, dude, it's so disrespectful. But something even crazier than fighting war in terrible footwear is the sunken city right off the coast of Delos. It's thought to be the ancient city of Canaan, where the Athenians defeated the Spartans. Archaeologists call it an underwater Pompeii since there's so much history that has been preserved in this city. This city has helped archaeologists learn so much more about the ancient Greeks. Number 6. Baia. We got another awesome place that ended up in a watery grave. Man, I guess that's why they built Las Vegas in the middle of the desert. There's no way water could suck away anyone's good time anybody was having there. Baia was a hedonistic playground where people would come to bang and party. It would even attract the rich and famous. People like Julius Caesar had vacation homes there and would come to visit constantly. This place was basically the Playboy mansion of its day. There were statues and artwork of great legends like Achilles and Odysseus, but unfortunately the city was blasted by the Saracens in the 8th century. And no one was ever allowed to have fun there anymore. Huge bummer. By the time the 1500s rolled around, the city was abandoned, because what's the point of having a beachside town with no debauchery? And after centuries of volcanic activity, the city was pushed underwater. Now it's a dive site you can visit to see all the fun that was lost. Number 5. The Milky Sea. I know this one sounds super gross. The Milky Sea makes me think of a giant bowl of snot that you have to cross in order to complete some task in a video game. But this one is actually pretty cool. Popping up randomly at night, the Milky Sea is an effect caused by a ton of bioluminescent plankton in the water. This makes the sea look like it's glowing and gives off a milk effect. It kinda looks like a giant rave is going on underwater. This thing can be huge, sometimes as large as Connecticut. It's still unknown why the plankton group up like this. It could be for mating, or maybe they just like to hang out. But what is known that this has been happening for centuries, back before you could explain these things through science. So sailors thought it was all magic. That would have blown some dude's mind. The ocean is glowing. Quick, cut off your pinky to satisfy the gods. Number 4. India's underwater city. Another city lost to sea. We can assume that this one was another party town swallowed up to make sure people keep living that pleb life. Although I can't confirm whether or not this place was an endless fiesta, I can confirm confirmed that this city is old as hell. It was discovered off the coast of Dwarka, one of the coastal cities of India. After its carbon dating, it was estimated to be around 9,500 years old. If this city is indeed that old, it could mean that the reason it ended up underwater was the melting of the Ice Age, which happened around 10,000 years ago. This would mean that this is one of the oldest cities ever discovered. It would be 5,000 years older than the oldest Mesopotamian city ever discovered. The uncovering of the city was a major find, and it could unlock secrets as to where we came from and who our ancestors are. Number 3. The Bimini Road. The most famous underwater city of all time. It's said to have been the mecca of science and culture, and people from all over the world would come there to learn. Well, it's Atlantis, of course, the apparent lost city where Aquaman is king and pops out every now and again to help the Justice League with fish-related problems. Well, this sunken road off the coast of the Bimini Islands in the Bahamas is said to have led to the missing metropolis. It's made of giant carved pieces of limestone that are too precise to have been formed in nature, so they must have been man-made. Now, did they actually lead to a city? Well, I have no idea, but it's safe to say that there was some sort of structure built in this area out in the middle of the ocean, so who knows. Number 2. The Chinese Atlantis. Number 2. The Chinese Atlantis. North America isn't the only place with its own ancient sunken city underwater. China has a mystery city of its own. It was called Chichen, and honestly, everything there was going great. It wasn't a party city, it didn't need to be condemned by the gods, it wasn't Pompeii and it got hit with a natural disaster, it was actually just chilling in the open until 1959. What happened was the Chinese government wanted to build a new power dam, and in order to do so, they needed to sink a city. The bummer is that some of the structures in the city were over 1,300 years old. It was a piece of history that got sunk for a dam. The good news is that the city is under so much water that it has been preserved and now is a scuba diving hotspot. Number 1. Atlantis of Japan. Has no one ever thought of giving these places their own original names? Instead of calling everything that falls underwater Atlantis, I'm gonna drop my phone in a candlelight bath and call it Atlantis of my basement apartment. This joke is even funnier because I don't have a bathtub at my place. I would have to flood my stand-up shower. Definitely not as romantic. Well, this city apparently fell into the ocean 2,000 years ago off the coast of Yonaguni-jima after a massive earthquake hit. Imagine an earthquake hitting before science, and you think God is shaking the world because you didn't pray 18 times every day. Now the city sits at the bottom of the ocean. Some speculate that it's just rock formations, but there does seem to be a 25-meter tall pyramid at the site, so I don't think that's a natural rock formation. Coming at number 10, we have Forest Park, Savannah, Georgia. We're kicking this list off with a big one because Forest Park isn't just an innocent looking location, it's also breathtaking. It's one of the most gorgeous places you can visit in Georgia, with massive winding trees that look like they were planted by elves, beautiful lush foliage that decorates the entire area with a beautiful green backdrop, and on top of all this, there's architecture in this place that will make you think it was built for the Queen. I mean, look at some of the fountains in this bad boy. But with all that being said, you might not be eager to check out everything this park has to offer when you realize that there's some ghostly presence that will follow you around as you try to enjoy the nature. Apparently the whole city of Savannah is riddled with tunnels. They run throughout the entire city and are under some of the most famous pieces of Forest Park. There are many rumors about the tunnels. Some say that gangsters would use them to transport goods and dead bodies. Some people think that swarms of underground tunnel dwellers lived and died down there while trying to escape the surface life. But the most legitimate claim is that the tunnels were used by doctors to perform autopsies and some strange experiments.
Up next, number 9, we have the creepy Scientology base. The Church of Scientology has been involved in a ton of controversy over the years. From its treatment of its members to its highly secretive practices, a lot of people are actually scared of this religion. For people that aren't members, it's actually pretty hard to know what exactly is going on inside of their buildings. One of their churches, called Trementina, is one of the properties owned by Scientology that can be seen on Google Maps over in New Mexico. Well, take a look for yourselves. You guys are looking at it right now. Okay, what the heck is happening inside of this building? They say that they use it to preserve books and movies, but honestly, who knows? They could be performing satanic rituals for all we know. Nuclear testing facility makes its way onto this list at number 8. Here we have a picture of a Google satellite image of a nuclear testing facility located in Nevada. So yeah, probably pretty close to Area 51. I think the reason why you should never visit this location is it's highly obvious. It's definitely not open to the public, and I'm not sure why you would want to even attempt to step foot near this location, and that's because it is full of so much radiation. Mushroom clouds can be seen up to 100 miles away in the distance, so this actually caused a lot more tourists wanting to visit Las Vegas. My idea of a good time does not involve slot machines and clouds of nuclear radiation, but that's just my opinion. It's actually really scary to think about it, that the fact that we are testing deadly nuclear weapons. Helltown in New Baltimore brings us to number 7. A Google Street View car managed to capture this image on their camera. Could this just be an equipment glitch, or could something more sinister be going on in this small town? Apparently people in this area are saying that there is a portal to hell in the area. Residents of New Baltimore have been reported that their little town has been taken over by evil demonic entities, so of course Google sent out a car to get, better pictures, more updated pictures, more accurate pictures. How about you bring them a couple of priests and it's time to bless the area. Next up, number 6, we have China's Area 51. What you're looking at right now could actually be China's version of Area 51. Is this real life right now? These strange white lines were discovered on Google Maps in the middle of China's Gobi Desert, and this image struck so many conversations online about what it could be. Most people believe that it's a calibration pattern for spy satellites, but then there are others that say that these lines prove aliens exist. These lines are located near the headquarters of China's space program. But unfortunately, we may never know the truth about what is really going on here. A very haunted bridge brings us to number 5. This is Booger Holler Bridge, and if you value your life, well, you'll never want to set foot or attempt to cross it, and that's because it is known to be extremely haunted. Legend has it that a father and son drowned while trying to cross the low bridge on a horse and buggy many years ago. And then there's another story about a woman and her child drowning when their car stalled on the bridge and the car was thrown into the river due to the strong current. People have even said that they can hear screams from the bridge, and people do satanic practices on it for some reason. So needless to say, the Google Street View car got close to the bridge, but they didn't dare cross it. Number 4, we have a creepy doll village. If you don't like looking at scary life-sized human dolls, then you'll never want to visit a small village in Nagoro, Japan. But in case you're curious, well, here's a taste of what you'll find there. Well, I told you that these dolls were creepy, but that's not all. Apparently an old lady will make a new doll every time someone in the village dies. So the amount of dolls outnumber the amount of people actually living in the village by about 10 to 1. I mean, could you imagine walking around at night and seeing all of these creepy dolls just staring at you? Couldn't they just be placed inside of an art gallery or something? This whole thing just makes me uncomfortable. So you know what, let's get the heck away from it and let's move on. Let's see what we have next. Scary underwater pyramids is up next at number 3. Well, this is an image taken from Google Maps that shows us that some creepy underwater pyramids might be lurking at the bottom of the ocean over in the Bahamas. This image sparked a lot of controversies when people said that these underwater pyramids could prove that aliens might be living among us. More reasonable people believe that these pyramids could have been made by an ancient civilization. But they also admit that we still can't rule out the existence of alien life forms, just yet. A nuclear fallout zone steps onto this list at number 2. Pripyat, Ukraine, has a bad reputation of being the site of the worst nuclear disaster in history. It's literally a ghost town with abandoned buildings that will probably never be lived in for a very long time. But the creepiest part of this town has to be this picture right here. Well, take a look for yourselves. It's literally a room full of old gas masks that were left behind. I don't know what's scarier, the amount of gas masks or the fact that there were child-sized gas masks left inside of an abandoned school. And topping this list, and at number 1, we have one of the most dangerous cities on earth. This right here is El Bronx, Colombia. And even though the city is completely demolished now, it was once known as the most dangerous city on earth. This was a neighborhood that was known for child prostitution and murder. Put it this way, if you found yourself walking the streets of this neighborhood, something awful would probably happen to you. Some of these buildings also had a lot of rotting murder victims inside, and gangs used to capture and feed rival gang members to starving dogs just to send the other gang a message.
Coming in number 10, we have the KOKODA Trail. There are tons of places around the world world that draw in a ton of tourists, but when you do a little research on them, you will start to learn that they could be a little more dangerous than you think. Like we all love a good hike, going for a long walk and testing your body against the elements. You get a solid workout in, you bring some snacks to munch down on while you're walking about, you get to see some wonderful nature, and if you're with the right kind of family, you probably get into 13 arguments along the way about nothing. The KOKODA Trail is one of the most popular tourist destinations in Papua New Guinea. People travel from all over the world to go on this fantastic hike and see some of the country's wilderness. Now, aside from the regular hazards you might run into while you're hiking along this rocky trail, the KOKODA Trail is known for being packed with mosquitoes. While most of the time you shouldn't have to worry about these annoying bugs outside of the fact that they can be annoying and for some reason can't get a taste of your blood without being completely irritating, the mosquitoes there are packed with malaria. Yeah, you don't want to be catching that sickness while you're hiking around in the wilderness. It will quickly make you sick. On the bright side, you can take some malaria medication before you go over to the country to make sure that you won't catch this sickness. On the downside, malaria medication apparently gives you some wicked nightmares. So you won't get sick, but you might see a bog monster with a clown head and devil wings eat your whole family before it bursts into a million spiders while you're fast asleep. Coming in number 9, we have CACHTICE Castle, a beautiful work of art, a towering castle that would be fit for only the finest royalty that wants nothing more than to help the people, or for a homicidal maniac who really wants to torture hundreds of people for a completely unknown reason. Even though this castle looks beautiful and innocent, it's far from that. The CACHTICE Castle was home to Elizabeth Bathory, who was obsessed with torture and bloodletting to try and heal herself. She would send out servants to find poor people and bring them back to her castle. They would either be promised jobs or some etiquette training, but they would actually be tortured to death and drained of their blood. And she would do some horrible things to these people. She would amputate their body parts, put people in devious torture devices, and she would also drain them of their blood so she could bathe in it and drink in it. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this place is evil. Coming in at number 8, we have Mount St. Helens. Now, I'm going to be a little bit loose on this one because Mount St. Helens doesn't really contain a great evil because nature is really neutral, but it does contain a destructive force that is as powerful as any evil force on this planet. When you just look at the beautiful mountain, which is Mount St. Helens, it looks like one of the most beautiful peaks in all the land. It looks like you should hike up it, build your life right on the side with a beautiful log cabin where you can spend out the rest of your days raising your beautiful family in the wilderness. But I couldn't think of a worse idea than building a home right around Mount St. Helens because it has enough destructive power to cover a lot of the US in ash. And with the way things are going in the world, the last thing we would need is a volcano to blow up and send a massive fire cloud through the sky so it blots out the sun and none of us can grow food, and maybe we freeze to death on top of that. Coming at number 7, we have the GOMANTONG caves in Malaysia. Once again, another touch of nature that happens to be filled to the brim with something horrible. Locals say that these caves are cursed, and for good reason. Even if you don't believe in some horrible mystic evil, you will be scared off from these caves from the thousands of things in there that will gross you out or just straight up try to kill you. The most famous creature that loves to call these caves home are the bats. And beyond being one of the most diseased carrying creatures on the planet, these bats poop on everything in sight. There is more bat droppings in there than the Wayne family toilet. That is a Batman joke for you. So if you've got enough grit to push past an ankle deep valley of flying rodent excrement, then you're going to get blasted in the face with some cockroaches. And these Malaysian cockroaches are massive and they also have wings. If one flying creep wasn't enough for you, here's some more. On top of that, there's a ton of venomous insects and reptiles that call this place home, so if you don't die from being grossed out, you might die from lethal injection. Next on the list is the Forbidden City, Beijing, China. I mean, it should be no surprise that a place called the Forbidden City has a dark past. No one tells you that a place is forbidden because it's filled with gumdrops and $20 bills. But when you look at this place, it's absolutely beautiful. The ancient structures have been around for over 600 years, and when you see something that old, you immediately think of something cute and innocent. I mean, I don't know anything that can live for 600 years, but if I did, it would be this cute old man that kind of walks around super cute and looks like a tortoise or something like that. But this place has a very dark past of people murdering each other to try and get ahead in royal families. Now, there are a ton of haunted spirits walking the halls seeking revenge on those who betrayed them, but I hate to break it to you, it's a little bit late to get your revenge. Next on the list, we have Snake Island, Brazil. Once again, this one is more on the side of nature, but it can be easy to understand why this one is on the list when you find out that this place is called called Snake Island. There isn't any sort of dark evil force living there like an ancient curse or supernatural baddie, but there is a ton of snakes that want to feast on your still warm beating heart. I mean, from a distance, Snake Island looks like it would be the best secret beach to live on. It's an uninhabited island, just so innocent, no people living on it. You could move right in and become a hermit, but if you were to do that, it would become one of your worst nightmares, and the reason for that is stated in the island's name. It's called Snake Island. There are snakes everywhere, and some of them are the most poisonous snakes you will ever encounter. Next on the list is Salem, Massachusetts, USA. What would now be a cute tourist spot where you can go get clam chowder and see a chunk of American history that's carved right out of the American coastal city, but it used to be home to one of the most horrible crimes in human history. The Salem witch trials are when people juiced up with a holy rage hunted down and prosecuted innocent people for being witches. Some of these people were just healers or people who subscribed to a different faith, but none of that mattered when the courts got involved. They were all seen as guilty and then hung. Many places in town are now said to be haunted with the angry spirits of people who were wrongfully killed so many years ago. Even though they might have not died as someone evil, their souls became evil after they were forced to be stuck in Salem for eternity. Next on the list is LARNACH Castle in New Zealand. Once again, a place that looks so innocent just based on how beautiful it is. This place looks like it was pulled right out of a fairy tale. LARNACH Castle is surrounded by wondrous draping foliage that makes it look like you're walking through a mystical gateway as you enter the royal grounds. And once you're in the castle, the massive ballroom is so breathtaking, it will have you saying, "These dudes were ballin' and we should eat the rich." But all of this beauty is sideswiped by the fact that this residence is plagued by an angry ghost, the daughter of the former owner who fell ill with a horrible case of typhoid and it would take her life. Now because her ghost died in agony, it walks the halls beaming with spectral energy. Coming in at number 2, we have New Orleans. I know I'm putting this one on the list, but New Orleans is one of my #1 travel places. At first glance, New Orleans looks like the most innocent place you can take your family. There's a ton of stuff to do outdoors, you have beautiful architecture, amazing food. Really, this is one of the best places you can go visit. But when you start pulling back the veil on the history, there is a ton of dark magic pulled into this place. There's a long history of ghost stories, hauntings, and voodoo. Not to mention the city is one of the murder capitals of America, which really makes you wonder whether or not dark voodoo has anything to do with making the people here more aggressive, or is it just the day drinking and hot weather? And coming in at the #1 spot, we have churches. These are supposed to be holy places that cannot be corrupted by evil of the outside world. They're supposed to be the most innocent places on the planet that only house the naive who want to see the whole world work together to become one happy place, but there have been some churches throughout time that have housed some very evil people. For instance, if you go back to the year 955, you will uncover one of the most horrible popes who ever lived. Actually, maybe the most horrible pope who ever lived. It was Pope Jean Paul XII, and he has a laundry list of offenses even if he wasn't someone holy. Let's start with the lighter stuff, which includes premarital gambling, drinking, lavish parties, blackmailing, stealing, wrongful imprisonment, and that's just getting started. He's also accused of kidnapping women and them. It said that he would torture people who tried to stop his debaucherous lifestyle. He apparently blinded a dude for disagreeing with him, and he was doing all this stuff on the church's dime. It's true what they say, that absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Starting off this countdown, we have the violent whirlpool. Located in Scotland, the Corrigium Maelstrom is a permanent, powerful vortex. In fact, this is said to be the 3rd strongest in the world, and depending on the weather conditions, this thing can get pretty deadly. In fact, there are countless tales of ships being sucked into the whirlpool's vortex. The lucky ones will just get spun out of control, but they'll survive. Not only that, but this whirlpool can produce standing waves as high as 15 feet high. So you don't want to be anywhere near it when that happens.
In our #9 spot today, we have the Alaskan wilderness. Chris McCandless is someone I have talked about before on this channel. He is the man who inspired the book Into the Wilderness. In 1992, while hiking through the Alaskan wilderness, Chris came across an abandoned bus in which he set up camp. Unfortunately, he later found himself trapped in the wilderness due to the rising water in the nearby river, and this bus became the place that he passed away. Since the release of the book about his life in 1996 and the subsequent film by the same name, Chris's story inspired many people who wanted wanted to live life in a way that Chris did, or they just wanted to travel to the bus and see the things that Chris saw. Either way, this bus has proven to be quite a dangerous tourist attraction, as many people have found themselves in a similar situation to the one that Chris was in. The nearby river has proven to be fatal for many people who have tried to cross it, which is certainly not the legacy Chris was trying to leave. Just last year in March, the bus actually ended up being removed from the trail. As much as I do wish it could have stayed where it was, I think the decision to prioritize the public's safety was the best and right decision to make.
Coming in number 8, we have Snake Island. Have you ever wanted to go to a place that has a bunch of snakes and they're all over the ground and in your hair and in your cereal? If you answered yes to that question, you should probably go to therapy, because that's just too many snakes. You should expect no more than a reasonable amount of snakes in your day-to-day, say maybe 1 to 2 snakes. But there is one place on this earth that could give you that many snakes, and that is of course Snake Island. This is a real place. It's not something a 14-year-old boy dreamt up when he inhaled some vapor from a gas leak, or the premise of some bad movie from the 90s that has both LL Cool J and Mariah Carey in it. No, this is an island off the coast of Brazil that is teeming with snakes. People have gone out to visit this horror show, mostly for research purposes, and I'm sure there are some people that are dumping bodies over there because no one is about to head over to Snake Island to find them. There are many different species of snake that live on this island. You better believe that there's a good chunk of them that are poisonous. I couldn't think of a worse travel destination. Not only would you be attacked by snakes the entire time, but no one would come to the island after to recover your body because it would be too dangerous, and there would be a good chance that your corpse would be munched on by all the slithering demon creatures that call this place home.
In our number 7 spot today, we have Death Road. North Youngest Road has the nickname Death Road, and honestly, when you just look at it, you can totally understand why. This 69-kilometer road is full of hairpin turns, and of course it is on the side of a mountain. Not to mention the fog, landslides, and waterfalls. It was so dangerous that until 1994, there were at least 300 drivers a year who were getting killed on this road. This road connects the Amazon rainforest to the capital city, so it was happening very often that salespeople would cram into trucks or buses filled with their wood and crops in order to try and sell them. The issue, however, was that the sharp turns were not wide enough for these larger vehicles, which would of course lead to them falling off the edge of the cliff, which was always fatal. There have certainly been steps taken to make the road slightly more safe for tourists, but it still remains one of the more dangerous places in the world. It is such a shame though, because it looks absolutely beautiful.
Coming in number 6, we have Omayakan. How about the coldest place on earth where people actually live? You know that if you take a trip somewhere, you can pick a spot that has beautiful sunshine, fruits that are so fresh, they were literally just picked off the vine before they touched your lips, and food so good that you'll eat until you're rolling on the ground moaning like a llama giving birth. Well, even though that sounds like a no-brainer when choosing your next travel spot, it turns out that some people will choose to visit a place that has none of those things and the chance of losing all your fingers and toes to frostbite. Welcome to Omayakan, where it regularly sits at -40, the coldest inhabited city in the world. This place is in Siberia, and it's so cold there that there's only about 500 people who have been able to live there. They do know that they can leave whenever they want, right? There's a whole world out there waiting for them. The people there can't grow any sort of vegetation, so they live off mostly fish and reindeer meat. That sounds like an exciting experience for your palate. One of the biggest tourist attractions there is a massive thermometer that shows exactly how miserable you should be every day. And one time it got so cold that it broke. Also, if you want to leave, you better plan ahead because the closest airport is 500 kilometers away.
In our number 5 spot today, we have Bikini Island. Bikini in the Marshall Islands was once inhabited by around 170 islanders until 1945 rolled around. The US president at the time, Harry Truman, ordered that the military continue to test nuclear weapons just in case they were needed in the future, since this was just shortly after the end of World War II. Unfortunately, Bikini was the place that was chosen to be the testing site, since all planes and ships traveled on routes that weren't close to the area. The residents of the island were asked to vacate for the good of mankind and to end all world wars, to which they of course obliged, under the impression that they would one day be able to move back. In 1954, the military detonated one of the most powerful weapons, Castle Bravo, which was 15 megatons, which is extremely large. This, combined with the 22 other nuclear weapons that were dropped, the island saw some extremely deadly levels of radiation that left the residents unable to return until the 70s. But, of course, just shortly after this, they realized that there were still higher levels of radiation than they thought, which left the island unsafe to live on. Bikini still remains uninhabited, but apparently there are people who try diving into the water surrounding it, but I just don't think I'd take that risk.
Coming in number 4, we have Oak Island. Do y'all like treasure? Heck yes. Do y'all like spooky stories about treasure? Heck yes. Do y'all like getting stuck in a trap while you're trying to find some treasure and then being lost to the world you know? Well, that's what's been going on over at Oak Island for years. If you don't know, there's a place called Oak Island that apparently has a massive treasure on it, and no one has been able to find it. Treasure hunters come there all the time to try and dig up the booty, but here's the thing. There's a bunch of booby traps on the island. So many that people have actually lost their lives while trying to find the treasure. So be careful if you ever head over there, because you never know what sort of defenses could be hidden to protect the treasure. Coming in at number 3, we have the Paris Catacombs. What did Paris do in the 18th century when they were overflowing with bodies? Well, they dug them all out of the ground and they built an entire tunnel system to put over 6 million people worth of remains down there. You can go visit them, and I bet there's no ghosts down there. There's even rumors that some sort of beast lives in the catacombs and eats people who gets lost, and there have been secret raves that take place, and no one knows if these raves are actually held by people who live on the surface or some sort of strange mole people who like EDM and live in the tunnels. Who knows? Coming in number 2, we have North Korea. I mean, do what you want with your life, but this place has always been sketchy to me. I mean, I would never want to go there because we have done so many videos on this channel about what might be going on in that country, and what if one of the Kim Jongs or someone in the government over there loves watching top 10 stuff? Then they saw one of these videos and they're waiting for when I cross and they arrest me. They lock me up in some weird prison, and then that's the last you see of me. Yeah, that's not the way I want to go. Also, there's apparently a secret prison over there where they horrible things to people, and if you even want to get in the country, you need to get special permission. Also, I don't know if there's anything worth checking over there, so it would be risking it all for something that might not even be worth it.
In our number 1 spot today, we have Mount Sinabung. Sumatra is an exceptionally popular tourist destination for a multitude of reasons, but one of the main ones is of course Mount Sinabung. It is obviously extremely beautiful, but the 8,000 foot tall mountain is a fully active volcano. It had a large eruption for the first time in almost 400 years in 2010, and ever since then, the 4 craters on this volcano have been very, very active. Since it's such a popular visitor destination, sadly when the eruption in 2010 happened, there were 2 people who lost their lives. You think this would be the only incident, but there were more lives lost when the volcano erupted again in 2014, and even more when it erupted again in 2018. There have been evacuations at other points during the years due to the fear of a large and catastrophic eruption. I feel like that's the downside to living in a place like this. It's obviously extremely beautiful, but then you just have to live life constantly on the edge, not knowing if your city is about to melt to the ground. The mountain still remains open for tourists, but you are urged to hike with a guide.
Kicking off the list at number 10, WikiLeaks. Companies have to be somewhere, right? We're a film studio in Toronto. We go to work, we clock in, we clock out. This is a physical place that we go to. But where do places like WikiLeaks live? You know, where are those odd safe houses, really? Well, apparently in Stockholm, buried around 100 feet below street level is an old nuclear bunker. Today, it's a facility owned by Swedish internet provider Bahnhof. This is where they keep servers for WikiLeaks, which is pretty hilarious. Julian Assange, frontrunner of this whole operation, his hard drive is in this bunker behind a 2-foot steel door accompanied by numerous backup generators. This guy will never get bored. If Netflix ever goes down, he's good. He's got like 2 weeks of movies.
In our 9th spot, we have the Underwater Memorial. The Sunken Crosses of Malpeque is an underwater graveyard located in Spain. This spot commemorates a group of 16th century missionaries that were killed by pirates before being thrown into the sea. The site features 40 stone crosses at the bottom of the sea off of the coast of La Palma in the Canary Islands. The site was created in 2000. Locals created 1 cross for each person that was killed, and then they purposely had them sunk in their honor. water. So it is literally an underwater graveyard, which is cool, but it's also creepy at the same time. It is now forever a sight to remember the horrors that happened to these people. Moving on to number 8, we have Jason Voorhees. Imagine you're swimming along in a lake minding your own business when all of a sudden you see Jason from Friday the 13th chained to the bottom of the lake. I don't know about you, but I would become like Michael Phelps and just speed swim my way out of that ocean. Here's the thing, there is a Jason at the bottom of a lake. Turns out that someone put a creepy statue of Jason Voorhees at the bottom of a lake in Arizona. The chains around him add a creepy touch as well. Turns out the statue was placed in Lake Pleasant in 2018 by a diver named Zachary Nagy. According to him, it took weeks upon weeks to make. When asked why he did it, he said that it is common for divers to place objects underwater, kind of to act like a marker. Apparently there's a poker table, fake skeletons, even a Christmas tree down there as well. But this one is definitely the creepiest. It must have given some of the divers quite a fright when they first swam into it. Now, Lake Pleasant Regional Park supervisors as well as local officials instructed Zachary to remove the statue. He didn't end up doing so though. But the creepiest part? When they went down there to remove it themselves, it was nowhere to be seen. Moving on to number 7, we have the underwater Stonehenge. England's Stonehenge is a pretty mysterious sight. There's a lot we don't know about it, like how was it built? What was its purpose? So on and so on. Well, it turns out that there is a Stonehenge located underwater. It can be found at the bottom of Lake Michigan. There are a bunch of random rock formations that scientists have been struggling to explain, but it's believed that they are thousands of years old. What makes it even weirder is that on one of these stones, they discovered a carving of a mastodon, a relative of an elephant that went extinct like over 10,000 years ago. So they're like, maybe this structure has been here since the last ice age. We really don't know how old they truly are, who built them, and why. In our 6th spot, we have the massive shark statue. So it appears as if divers enjoy giving other divers heart attacks. This time, someone placed a giant shark statue underwater. Holy, if I saw that thing, I legit would have a heart attack, or I'd probably just choke on the water and drown. The shark can be found in Lake Neuchatel in Switzerland. This is 10 times scarier than Jason. Like at first glance, it looks real. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Sunken Sculpture Park. Located in the Caribbean just off the coast of Grenada, you will find a number of underwater statues. Some of them include life-sized casts of local children or a ring of people holding hands. Nowadays, the sculptures are covered in vegetation and in barnacles. The ocean has completely claimed them. So I won't lie, it looks pretty creepy, but it definitely is a place to see. In our 4th spot, we have the Dead Humans. Now, this is a very undeniably creepy art site. Located just off the coast of North Africa in the shallow waters around one of the Canary Islands, you have 200 human figures laying dead on the ocean floor. This was an art installation trying to highlight global warming. All the dead humans are said to be victims of global warming. This site is called Human Gyre and it is open to the public if you wish to dive down and see it for yourself. If you do, you'll see a ring of humans stacked on top of each other. If I dove down and I didn't have a warning about what this was, I would literally think that it was a portal to hell or something. Coming in at number 3, we have the Dragon's Triangle. The Dragon's Triangle, or the Devil's Sea, or the Pacific Bermuda Triangle, is an area where a number of different ships and military vessels have gone missing, which is why it's considered the Pacific Bermuda Triangle. Fun, not so fun fact, it is considered one of the most dangerous marine locations around the world. In 1950, a team of researchers exploring the area set out, and they never returned home. Their bodies were never found. And over the years, a number of US and Japanese ships have gone missing in that area. One time, 9 American ships went missing in that area on a day with perfect weather. To this day, they haven't been found, and we literally don't know what happened to them. Moving on to number 2, we have the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is located in the western part of the Pacific Ocean, and it is the deepest part of the ocean. It is about 2,550 kilometers long and 69 kilometers wide. The exact depth though is unknown because we haven't been able to get to the bottom of it, which makes it pretty creepy. Scientists say that there could be sea creatures down there that we have never even heard of, but we won't be able to find out because we can't get down there. It's so deep that apparently if you take Mount Everest and put it in the trench, its summit would still be underwater by more than 2 kilometers. So yeah, it's really deep and creepy. And in our number 1 spot today we have the ghost ships. Now there is an area in the ocean rumored to be incredibly haunted, and this is located just adjacent to the Bermuda Triangle. How fitting. So this is the shoreless Sargasso Sea. There's no shoreline, hence its name. Its boundaries are ocean currents. Not only is it filled with seaweed so thick that it floats on the surface of the water, but it's haunted. A number of people have spotted long lost ships floating in the area. When they pull up to it, no one is on board. Not only that, but others have claimed to see faces appear in the seaweed, as if someone was trapped in the ocean looking up at them. How creepy is that?
Number 10. Port Royal, Jamaica. Port Royal in Jamaica used to be the most banger place on earth. It was once considered the world's best party town for pirates back in the 1600s. You know how much of a good time you have to be for pirates to collectively decide you're one of the best places to party? Pirates are maybe the best partiers of all time. However, God probably got all butthurt about this because in June of 1692, a massive earthquake hit the area, followed by a huge tsunami which buried the whole city underwater. Around 3,000 people died, and the city has been left underwater to this day. This is definitely a huge bummer. It's considered an archaeological wonder, but I think we all need to pour one out for our fallen pirate brothers and sisters who were just trying to have a colossal rager when the whole world came crashing down on them. I hope they're all up there in heaven getting tanked and rinsing puke out of their little funny mustaches.
Number 9. King Tut's artifacts. The new Grand Egyptian Museum opened up in 2021, and while that's quite recent, the contents displayed inside certainly are not. For the first time in history, King Tut's ancient belongings, the artifacts discovered with him initially, will all be on display. Yeah, this is huge. Prior to this museum being open, we only saw around 150 artifacts from his tomb in entirety. They took all these pieces on tour, but now this museum will house thousands of artifacts. It's the final resting place for King Tut's collection. That's over 7,000 square meters of just Egyptian history, all on display for you. It's pretty amazing. If you have a chance to visit the Grand Egyptian Museum, or if you saw this King Tut World Tour live, nice. I'm jealous. I'm really jealous. Number 8. North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is the home of the Sentinelese tribe, one of the most forbidden islands in the world. But why? Really, why? It's located in the Bay of Bengal. North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers away from India. And while most islands are shrinking or disappearing, this one actually grew back in 2004. Yeah, the island actually lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so it's getting bigger, gained an extra kilometer, nice. The inhabitants on this island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world. They've apparently been there for 50,000 years. There's no sign of agriculture or even fire yet, but somehow this tribe has thrived for this long. If we try and get close, they will try and drive anybody away with deadly force. In fact, back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they got too close to the island without knowing who was on it. We don't even know how many people are on this island to this day. We have zero clue. They aren't exactly these ruthless hunters per se, they're just protecting their land. Like they've done so for thousands of years. They're protecting this island from us, pretty much. And they'll continue to do so. Yeah, we're not getting close anytime soon. Number 7, LASCAUX Cave. If you didn't visit this cave back in, say, 1963 or sooner, you lost your chance, my friend. Forever. Yeah, officially closed. The LASCAUX cave system is now a World Heritage Site in France. These cave paintings are 17,300 years old. Paintings that depict cattle, bison, stags, you name it. They're beautiful, they're complex, and of course, they're extremely old. So old that the cave was closed to the public forever in 1963 after it declared human presence wasn't too healthy for its art. Yeah, our breathing would eventually cause this art to fade away. Plus, I'm sure somebody would have snuck in by now with a Sharpie had it remained open. 17,000-year-old paintings. Protect these for another 17,000. Please. Number 6, Surtsey Island. When it comes to new things in life, it's pretty rare we get a new island. Yeah, how lucky are we? We're even luckier that Disney didn't build a resort here. Nice, because now scientists get to study what an island looks like without human interaction for a change. Yeah, oh, we're nervous now, eh? We're like, oh, what's gonna happen with it? Is it nice? Is the air better? Surtsey Island on Iceland. As of right now, it's only open to a few scientists and geologists. Everybody else, beat it, pal, get lost. It was born from a volcanic eruption back in 1963, coincidence, at the same year that the caves closed. And scientists all have one rule on this island. No seeds, nothing. Choose something else, anything else, please. One guy accidentally pooped out a tomato seed and almost lost his job. The guy almost ruined the whole operation because he ate a tomato. What a stressful job. Better hold it, I guess, if you work there. Number 5, Niha Island. Located in Hawaii, this beautiful island is also not a sandals resort. Yet. Nice, that's good stuff. What do you know? In fact, the population of this island is only a whopping 170. It's also referred to as the Forbidden Island, and it was bought back in 1864 by Elizabeth Sinclair, and it's been privately owned since. Hence the small population. The thing is, in 1952, the polio epidemic hit the islands and a ban was put in place. So now you couldn't enter the island or leave. Yep, better pack your nicest flip-flops, buddy, you're staying. Nobody got sick, which is a good thing, but now if you want to enter the island or whatever, you have to gain special access, which is a lot harder than it may seem. Even if you're extremely rich, you can't just buy your way onto this island. There's something going on there. For now, we'll just, observe from a bush from afar. We'll just sit there with a telescope and have FOMO. Number 4, the Shanghai Complex. Most of the details on this one are still unknown. How fun is that? Nice. We love a nice mystery here on Top 10. The Shanghai Complex is a massive underground bunker, as you could have guessed. It's supposedly able to fit 200,000 civilians comfortably. Yeah, it's over 1 million square feet, and it was built in case a nuclear attack were to ever happen. Probably a great call. Probably some good stuff. This was a newspaper article back in 2006. Now imagine reading about this one morning while you're having your coffee, just all of a sudden an underground bunker. You're like, do we get tickets? How does this work? The Shanghai Morning Post touched on the new complex, saying it's got massive protective doors, everything you need, electricity, great ventilation. It can fully support life for 2 weeks. And yes, it's very secure. No one's getting in or out. Number 3, Svalbard Vault. Over the pandemic, I spent a lot of time playing video games. And a lot of these games always have a similar theme, I realized. Always like a post-apocalyptic, a lot of survivors and vaults. I'm referring to Fallout. That was definitely my go-to game. It's stressful but engaging, and in real life we have a global seed vault, and it's deep in the Arctic Circle on the island Spitsbergen. It's this massive bunker that has since been deemed the Doomsday Vault. That's nice. That has a nice ring to it. Sounds calming. This is where humans will store food crops. Like all of them. It contains 100 million seeds, so if the Earth all of a sudden were to get wiped out by White Walkers or all the ice melts, something bad happens and we're all doomed, well, this vault will be good to go long term. All that water that has since, eliminated humanity, plenty of hydration for future crops. April showers, I guess. Number 2, Denver International Airport. Since its opening in 1995, Denver International has been the subject of many myths. Some are pretty bizarre. I had to include it on our list today. Lizard people, that's the talk of the town. Apparently, they like to build airports on their off time, when they're not, ruling the Illuminati. Yeah, so far it's believed the Freemasons built this airport, or the Illuminati, or lizards, the New World Order, something, someone, I don't know. It's haunting. The airport itself is massive. It covers around 52 square miles. There's gargoyles that are hanging out in your baggage claim, so yeah, the art displayed is odd, that I get. It does seem creepy for sure. But the airport has started to lean into it almost. They laugh with this stuff. They have a conspiracy month that began back in 2016, so they're like, yeah, screw it, whatever you're saying, sure. They even showed a screening of Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the airport. What? Imagine you're traveling and this happens. I'd be like, what? Where am I? What year did I land in? I would lean into it too, honestly. If I was hiding a secret bunker, the only thing I would do is lean into it. Kind of like number 1, Area 51. Of course we have to talk about it. What is it real? Are there aliens? They were on the news. Is this a real place? Remember that Area 51 raid when everybody was determined to find out the truth about aliens? That big raid, that massive raid with everybody?
Everyone! We're not here for photos! We're here to rescue the aliens! Rescue!
Okay, so it didn't work, I don't think we got in. We didn't raid Area 51, obviously. I mean, I don't know, a handful of gamers in tinfoil hats can't overthrow Area 51 military. Who'da thunk? Because it's one of the most forbidden places in the world to enter. That's why. It's common knowledge at this point, but why exactly did people get arrested in tinfoil hats? What were they hiding? What did they want to break into?